good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? All right. We will, first of all, thank each and every one of you once again for the allowance of this transmission through this particular gateway at this time. Once again, each and every time such a communication is allowed and such a communication is created, it affords our civilization an opportunity to experience through each and every one of you that many more ways that the infinite has of expressing itself within creation, and this expands our understanding of the infinite, and so we thank you for this gift. We are aware that this day of your time we will commence with a slightly different format, and as such we will extend to you our appreciation for the co-creation of this particular transmission and communication, and we invite you to simply proceed in whatever way, shape, or form you so desire with this dialogue. Yes, good day.
Hello, how are you?
Perfect, and you?
I'm fine.
All right.
I would like to introduce myself. I'm Miranda.
All right, if you say so.
And I have the honor of having you on my show. It's Miranda's Mysterious Universe.
All right, we understand the context.
Okay, I have great respect for what you do. And I want to give you the opportunity to speak from wherever you feel that you need whatever information. However, I have a few questions. My show is on extraterrestrial mothers, and I understand you can identify the hybrid mothers.
From time to time,
Okay.
we will have communication and conversation with individuals who may be having such experiences, yes.
Okay, may I ask you, myself, I have had a lot of experiences. I don't know if I need to tell you about myself. You probably can
We
take-
can, in many cases, simply scan the frequencies that we are perceiving in the communication, and we can, as you say, go from there.
Okay.
You can simply, if you wish, proceed directly to whatever question you deem to be appropriate.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to ask you, continuing the context of my show on hybrid mothers and identifying them.
Yes.
I had an experience at one time in my life, and I had a possibility that I had experienced being a hybrid mother.
Yes.
And I want to know if that is true,
Yes.
if that has happened.
Yes.
Would you elaborate?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
The
Okay.
idea simply is that, of course, like many such individuals, you have had many such experiences. In fact, the contact will usually begin in childhood and even sometimes prior to birth, with the preparation of what you would call the fetus, the adjustments of the energy, the adjustments of genetics, and so forth, that will allow there to be a representation of the agreement that your soul, your spirit made with regard to your eventual participation in this agenda in your physical life. And so in that context, you have had many such experiences, especially once you became of what you would call childbearing age. Thus, then, there have been many such occasions wherein your genetic material, along with other individuals' genetic material, was utilized for the purpose of the creation of hybrid beings, many of whom are still in the stage that you would call children.
Thank you very much. Do you have any information on the particular child or children that I have that you wish
There
to
is
share?
some. Do you have specific questions about them, or would you simply allow us in that sense to proceed?
I'll allow you to proceed.
All right. One moment. One moment. One moment. One moment. We are perceiving, in connection with your particular energy, between 5 to 10 major connective children. Now, we say major connective children, and this refers to the idea that, of course, when the extraterrestrial species that your people refer to as the Greys, for these are the main species involved in the hybridization, when this species utilizes your genetic material or anyone's genetic material, there may be varying degrees of your original genetic material that wind up in any given hybrid child. You follow me so far?
Yes, I do.
Therefore, those that would encompass above 50% of your DNA will be within this initial group of what we are calling 5 to 10 children. There may be many others that may have fragments of your genetic material, but we will not necessarily immediately consider them to be yours since they are below 50%. Do you understand?
Below 50%.
Of your genetic material.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Therefore, these 5 to 10 represent in general those that have the closest genetic bond to you in terms of the utilization of your genetic material in their creation.
Is there anything in particular why they chose to have so many kids with me?
This is an average amount.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Do they plan for me to ever have human children, or just?
They have no say in the idea of whether you decide to have human children. That is not part of their agenda. It is part of yours if you wish, but that is up to you.
Okay.
They are only concerned with the creation of the hybrids which will allow for the continuation of their own species.
Will I have a chance to meet any of them?
The children?
Yes.
Yes. In and around, generally speaking, your years of 2005 to, again, 2013, as a window, you will find that there will be more and more opportunities for the genetic mothers to begin to interact more blatantly and eventually on the earth itself with many of these children. As in the future, the near future, as you call time, many of these children will eventually take up residence upon your own planet with the mothers. Yes?
Do we have to interact with them? I mean, physically be around them? I mean, they'll be here. We will make contact with them. In other words, live with them, or?
Yes. There will be opportunity at first for the, as you would say, acclimatization of these children into your reality, and as such, they, of course, will require parental guidance and support. And thus, in a sense, it will be an ongoing living situation. Do you understand?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much for that. I would like to ask you one more question.
Yes.
What advice would you give me as far as insight as to, I'm trying to educate the public with my show. So far, things have been absolutely fantastic.
All right, then there really is no advice that we can give to anyone who is undertaking an endeavor of creativity other than to stress that it is always of maximum and paramount importance to always act upon your highest creative excitement and joy. For it is that energy that is representative of the frequency of your true core self. And if you always are willing to take action in the direction of the thing that excites you the most and express yourself in the most creative way you can imagine, then you will be fully aligned with your self-chosen purpose, your so-called missions and goals, because you will be being yourself. And by being yourself, that is how you serve others best, because then by being yourself, whatever it is you are inspired to do will be automatically what others will need you to do that will be of service to them. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
That's all there is to it.
Thank you very much for that. And one last question.
Yes.
I appreciate. How will the environment be prepared for the hybrid? How will we be introduced to the children? Will they be a major announcement? Will there be?
Usually not. There will be a time when this will be appropriate, but at first you will find that there will simply be, more often than not, though there will be some exceptions, a few exceptions, there will be isolated areas that individuals on your planet will suddenly simply find themselves being attracted to move to. And in moving to those isolated areas, they will find that it will be the correct environment for the slow introduction of the hybrid child, safe from the majority of civilization until such time as full acclimatization can take place. This will be one of the strongest methodologies.
Thank you. Can you describe some of their physical attributes or their appearances? What do they look like? How are they?
Again, it will depend upon the amount of human genetic material that may have been utilized in the creation of any given hybrid. Some of them will, in your terms, look more human. Some of them will look less human in that sense. But generally speaking, since our race also is representative of a hybridization, it will be in general similar to the appearance that we have, which is relatively slender and frail compared to humans of average, the idea of 4 to 5 feet of your height, whitish gray skin coloration, like unto what you would call your paper, larger eyes than human eyes, slightly larger heads than human heads. But in that sense, we would deem that most of you would find them, while at first perhaps a little bit shocking and unusual, relatively cute. At least by what we understand human standards to be.
That is wonderful. Bashar, may I ask you another question?
That was a question.
Okay.
Do you want to ask another one again?
Yes, I do.
All right, you do not have to ask if you can ask.
Okay, well, thank you. You're very nice. What is the ultimate goal for this of the gods, if you would, for having...
Gods?
Oh, whoever they are.
Are you talking about the extraterrestrial species involved in the hybridization?
Actually, the question is, I want to know, what is the ultimate goal of the Creator in doing this? Is this going against our will?
The Creator has no goal except to be itself. That is the only goal the Creator has. Were the Creator to have any other goal other than to simply be itself in all the ways that it can, this would put too much of a restriction on creation. There can be no restriction on creation. It must be open-ended and infinite, or it cannot be truly creation. Thus, the idea of the Creator is that the Creator does not have unto itself a goal except to experience itself in all the ways that it possibly can, which means all the beings of every type, everywhere and every when that exist within creation are aspects of the Creator, experiencing itself, expressing itself in all ways that it can from all perspectives, and in essence, interacting with itself in all manners possible. The only goal of the Creator is to experience itself as creation. There is no ultimate goal other than that, because it is simply its nature, and the only goal it has is to simply express its nature. Do you follow that?
Yes, I do. I appreciate your explanation.
Thus then, it is not that any one thing goes against the grain, or so-called with the grain of the Creator. Yes, there are things that might be mechanically destructive. There might be things that are mechanically constructive. You can understand that there is a flow that represents going with the grain, so to speak, that there is a flow that in some senses represents going against the grain, so to speak. But it is not against the will. It is simply that there are some things that are more efficient than others, some things that are more representative of holism than others, some things that are more representative of segregation than others. The ultimate idea, therefore, is for every species and every individual, everywhere and every when, to decide for themselves whether or not they wish to function on a more holistic and therefore more creation representative level, or a more segregational and therefore, in a sense, a more destructive representation level. But that is up to each and every individual. Do you follow?
Yes, I do. And what is the health of these children, and what is their diet? What do they enjoy eating when they come to this planet?
At first, in the initial stages of the hybridization, the health was not that good until certain adjustments were made. Now, more and more and more of them are, in your terms, healthy. There will be a very light diet, as it will be mostly in liquid form, what you would call the liquefaction of vegetables and fruits, some of which are native to your world, which are brought to them for the ability to adapt, some of which are not native to your world. In that sense, there is a very, very light amount of the ingestion of solid material, again in natural raw form. They will not eat anything that you would call cooked or prepared in any other way other than being natural. Do you understand?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Does this help you?
This helps me greatly. It's been a great pleasure talking with you, and I want to give other people an opportunity to have your time. And
All right.
Thank you very, very much.
We thank you again for the opportunity for this co-created transmission and interaction. And we will now, at this time, proceed with the idea for this transmission that we will call breaking the seals. From time to time, as we have said, we will, a little bit ahead of time, prepare the channel with diagrams that may be germane for the explanations we are about to give. Thus, then, you can perhaps see on what you would call your drawing board one such diagram that is representative of a very particular thing and will function as a very simple illustration of some of the points we are about to make regarding the breaking of the seals. Now, upon your planet, it is being recognized by many individuals that it is time for the opening of informational sources that have been hidden, secret, sealed for a long time as you count time. More and more and more individuals are discovering information hidden, built in to other levels of information, beneath, underneath the surface information. are beginning to unseal the coded books, the coded secrets, beginning to reveal things that have been waiting for what you call this end of days, this cycle of change, this cycle of transformation. You are now finding in many ancient texts subtext and reams of holographically imprinted information that is revealing a number of different scientific and sociological bits of advice and information and insight. Many things are opening up and revealing themselves to you now. More and more and more, this will go on. This diagram, in general, represents one geometric understanding that some individuals on your planet are beginning to have cognition of, and we will explain this illustration to show what we mean. Now, we have from time to time mentioned the idea of what is called the phi ratio, which you all know of in mathematical terms as a ratio or a proportion that is representative of the natural growth of things, the growth of things in nature. All exhibit these proportions, these golden sacred geometry proportions, as you call them. The phi ratio specifically being 1 to 1.618. Everything in nature, your bodies, plants, anything that grows, anything that evolves, exhibits physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, these cycles, these ratios in the cycles of events, of growth, of position, of timing, of attitude, of proportion, of expression. You will find in music these ratios. You will find again in growing things, in the physical, actual dimensions of things, these ratios. Again, for example, as we have said, as an early illustration, the idea of your hand, your finger, the first joint, if that is 1, the second joint is 1.618 times bigger. If the second joint is 1, the third joint is 1.618 times bigger. This is how nature builds. It is the template, the underlying blueprint of growth and expansion. And you will find it embedded in everything. Now, to illustrate the idea of the revelation of interconnectedness, this diagram, we will begin with a rectangle, what you would call illustration number 1. This will be a golden proportion phi ratio rectangle. The short side will be 1. The long base will be 1.618. For the purposes of this illustration, to give you some fill-in numbers, not that it cannot be any other size, but for the purposes of this illustration, to make it easy for you, if you are writing, if you are calculating, you can consider this rectangle to have a short side of 2.5 of your inches and a base of 4 inches, although more accurately 4.045 inches. But for now, 4 inches will do. If you will then bisect this rectangle with a line down the center, as you will see in illustration number 2, then draw, as in illustration number 3, a diagonal line from the top to the corner, both directions. You will now have what you will call a triangular or pyramidal form. Do you follow so far? This pyramidal form is exactly the dimensions and proportions of your Great Pyramid at Gizeh, for it is a phi ratio pyramid. Its height relative to its baseline is exactly 1 to 1.618. Now, what you will see in the more complex diagram is this. This is what has been done. This is what has followed from the creation of step number 3. If you will take the baseline of the pyramid and treat it as a diameter of a circle and draw the big circle, you will see that the large circle falls just a little bit short of the apex of the pyramid. Do you see this? All right. Now, if you will then allow yourself to treat the point, the apex of the pyramid, as the center of another circle, one that is only just tangent, that is just touching the larger circle, and draw this smaller circle. Do you see it? All right. Then you have this circle on top of the large circle with the apex of the pyramid at its center. Then below, you will find that if you take the baseline, the diameter now of the large circle, and make a square down below the bottom half of the large circle, that is again 4 inches, that is a square, 4.045 if you wish to be accurate. And then you will find that you draw another circle down underneath in the center, that is underneath the large circle and tangent to it. Do you see this? All right. Now then, you will understand that here you have a diagram that has a pyramid in it, what you would recognize as the phi ratio pyramid on your planet, that which you call the Great Pyramid at Gizeh, exact in its angles, its base angles of 51 degrees, its apex angle of 78 degrees, a phi ratio pyramid of 1 to 1.618. Based on this then, and in this way having constructed these 3 circles, what you will now understand is the large circle is representative in this scale of the diameter of your own Earth. The small circle on top is exactly the diameter of your moon. The circle underneath is exactly the diameter of Mars. Now, look at this relationship. And understand that upon your Earth, and upon your Mars, and upon your moon, all 3 bodies exhibit phi ratio pyramidal structures. They all have pyramids. They are connected in a very interesting way. Now, also, for this is something we will get into at a later time, you will notice that the small circle, now what you understand to be your moon, also has rays radiating top, side, and bottom. This is simply representative of the idea that your sun, your star, is perfectly eclipsed by your moon, which means that the distance that your moon is from the Earth is exactly the correct distance for its diameter to exactly and precisely eclipse your central star, which, as we have said recently, is not an accident. We have talked recently about the idea, and it again is being discovered as the seals are being broken. It is being discovered more and more every day with what you would call more raw data, that your moon, while a natural body unto itself, does not come from your solar system. It has, in a sense, been, as you would say, doctored, engineered, and positioned intentionally around your planet for the purpose of acting as a regulator, a cycle regulator. It was positioned there after what you called the destruction of Atlantis and your last polar shift to function as a balancer, a balancing, regulating, cyclic regulating mechanism to help balance your planet so it would be less likely that such would happen again. We will go into more detail about the history of this at another time, but suffice to say that this particular diagram is representative of the breaking of a seal, the opening of new geometric embedded information in golden sacred geometry proportions, and now many individuals on your planet are beginning to discover in, again, as we have said, some of your ancient texts, that which you would call in the original forms, your Hebrew texts, your Sanskrit texts, and so on, coded information that bespeaks of ancient knowledge embedded in these texts for the purpose of being discovered at the time of the end of the cycle so that the seals could be broken and that this information could be revealed, and your people are finding it now. Congratulations. So, look to your literature now, and you will see more and more and more and more examples and indications of the breaking of the seals and the revelation of this hidden information encoded in many ancient texts in many ways, And it is the information you need to understand your reality and the information you need that will assist you in gaining a larger, more holographic perspective of who you are and your reality so that you can engineer, so to speak, your reality in the direction you prefer it to be. We thank you at this time for allowing us to discuss the idea of the opening of these gates, these secrets, these seals, and once again, in return for the gift that you are giving our civilization in allowing this communication to take place, I ask at this time, in what way may I and my world be of service to you?